Welcome to Trustee Training, an overview of roles. This is a 6-part series sponsored by the State Library of Iowa. This session is part 4 in the series, Developing and Adopting Library Policy. This video series is presented by the State Library's District Consultants. I'm Bonnie McEwen, Consultant for the Northwest District Office. The State Library provides consulting, continuing education, and support to all of Iowa's public libraries, to directors, staff, and trustees. District consultants are available to answer your questions and to provide educational opportunities for your library board. In these videos, we'll provide a quick look at each of the library board's top 5 responsibilities as further explained in the Iowa Library Trustees Handbook. That publication complements our consulting service. We encourage everyone on your library board to read it. You can find that handbook on our website, statelibraryofoiowa.gov. So the first session in this series serves as an overview. The other sessions take each of the board's responsibilities in turn. In this video, we're taking up developing and adopting library policy. You can find all the other videos in the series on the State Library's website. The Library Trustees Handbook explains the top 5 responsibilities of library boards. And in that top 5 list is the board's role in developing library policy. This slide points to the importance of policies, and it serves as an outline for this video as we talk about the standards that have policy implications, legal and ethical concerns when adopting policy. Our policies should demonstrate credible business practice. And lastly, we'll look at public policies as a really good opportunity for public education. More on these points coming up. But first, this chart is a nice visual that highlights the 4 major players in policy development: the library board, the director, the staff, and the 4th player is likely to be city government. And that's because there are bound to be policy decisions that the city has already made for other city workers, for other city departments, that will very logically apply to the public library, because library workers are city workers and the library is a city department. So these are areas where the city might have some logical influence over library policy. You'll see those topics on the far left column, topics like HR, where the city has addressed salaries and benefits for full-time versus part-time workers. The city has probably addressed expense reimbursement and mileage reimbursement, building safety and security closings. Within the confines of this video, I won't spend more time here, but I did want to include this chart when you decide to circle back to review these slides. And as you share this material with other board members, this video series is a very good inclusion for your new trustee orientation process too, which is another standard. This slide shows a clear connection between policies and standards. The State Library prescribes service standards for Iowa's public libraries. The document In Service to Iowa, Public Library Standards, is an important resource for boards, directors, and staff to know about. Many of the standards speak to how library boards conduct business, from meeting 10 months of the year to complying with Iowa's open meetings law, and many more. But for our purposes in this video, let's look at what standards say about policies. Libraries meeting standards at a Tier 1 level must have 4 written policies, showing here on the slide: circulation, collections, personnel, and internet use. Now, again, within the constraints of this video, I won't detail each of these here. Just know that you can contact your district office for more conversation about these policy topics. No doubt your library has many more policies than the four just mentioned. Here are some examples of additional policies: bulletin boards, display space, how your patrons enjoy the library's meeting rooms, library programming and the library's use of social media, and increasingly, library boards are developing policy about the library's use of AI in the library's operation. I want to come back to standard number 7 that requires these four written policies on circulation, collections, personnel, and internet use. You'll note that the standard goes on to say that policies need to be reviewed at least every 3 years. Now, there's no need to examine and review all policies at one or two board meetings. That's too much to tackle. It's much easier to schedule various topics to be reviewed throughout the 3-year cycle. So be sure to date every revision you make. And another tip is to bring a year at a glance calendar to this process. Here's an example. This visual explains a board business tip that I've long encouraged our library boards to do because it has such good applications. Including a year at a glance calendar and bringing it to your board meetings allows your board to plot those annual tasks that you need to discuss and act on throughout the year. Those annual tasks then will be consistently plugged in to a yearly calendar. Again, you don't want to review your entire policy manual in one sitting, so you might target certain months of the year for a policy review. So for instance, you could target April as the month to review the collection policy. Maybe May becomes the month to review your circulation policy, and so on. This calendar process also makes agenda development from month to month much easier. And it not only targets those policies you want to review, it allows the board to act on other things that are annual expectations and to target months for those as well. Annual expectations like conducting the library director's job performance, like reviewing your library's strategic plan. So using a calendar like this gives the board a collective memory, and it gives you time to plan and adjust. Let's turn to legal considerations. How can library boards and management do their best work to ensure that policies being adopted can also be fairly enforced? So, for instance, public library policies must comply with current statutes, local, state, and federal laws. And at the local level, a very important one to be in compliance with is Iowa's open meetings laws. Boards also have to hire according to equal opportunity law. They have to ensure that the library upholds patron confidentiality. We need policies to be reasonable with any consequence for breaching those policies to also be reasonable. Policies need to be clear, applied without discrimination, and for those topics that have sufficient complexity to them, it's really best for library boards to consult the advice of your city attorney. This circulation policy from LeClaire Public Library is a good example of reasonable regulations and reasonable consequence. Here you can see in what LeClaire Library has stated that circulation and some remote access privileges will be blocked for patrons with $5 or more in fines, or if people have 5 or more items overdue, or if people have long-standing overdue materials that have never been brought back, those materials have been billed for repurchase. So you can see that these are reasonable and pretty typical consequences for overdue and lost items. An unreasonable penalty here would be to bar patrons with overdue items from the library for a long period of time. Go toward the reasonable side of consequences, as LeClaire has done. With policies in place, the library board also demonstrates credible business practice. The board and director look good. You'll look on top of issues. You'll be in keeping with other agencies and businesses, schools, banks, even golf courses have policies. So note the last statement in Standard 7 that says policies must be available to staff and to the public for public inspection. Public-facing policies are those that community members really need to know about. The most logical ones to post on the library's website are those that the public really needs to know about in order to take full advantage of your library services. And then posting on the library's website becomes a great way to advance public education. So you want to alert people to your upcoming holiday closings. You want to alert people to the how-tos behind, for instance, getting a new library card for the first time, using the library's meeting room, using services like Bridges. You might want to remind the public about how libraries are funded. You might want to even encourage memorials and donations to the library. And you can always follow the fact that you're posting your policies to your library's website. You can always follow that and support that with some fact sheets that you give to people. People who get a library card for the first time, can you give them a fact sheet along with their new card? What about a fact sheet sitting next to your public computers that describe the library's computer policy and your Wi-Fi access? What about a fact sheet for people who are new to Bridges and using Libby? All of those are helpful and really necessary for public education to help people better understand how to use and how to access the library. Speaking of library access, this policy from Grimes Public Library is so well done because it identifies the holiday closings decided upon and posted 1 year in advance of the closing. So again, Grimes Public Library has decided and documented in policy, in writing, and by posting on their website which holidays the library observes so that the community knows well in advance when the library is expected to be closed. In fact, Grimes is so far ahead of the schedule that their patrons can already see the dates in 2026 when the library will be closed. This is an easy thing to do. It's a very effective form of public education because it directly relates to how patrons can best access your library services. Are your holiday closings posted on your library website? Follow Grimes' example. Here's another good example of policies as an opportunity for public education. This from Iowa City Public Library regarding the library going fine-free. That happened in 2022. An Iowa City Public Library uses an FAQ page, which I think is a friendly way of relaying policy information because the answers to people's frequently asked questions are actually policies decisions. Now, it's still good to post your library policies in their entirety on your website, but including this kind of an FAQ display is a nice visual and friendly way of sharing policy information and doing public education at the same time. So to wrap up this module then, thoughtful public policies should be developed through study, input, and discussion involving the library board, the director, staff, and quite often the city government as well. Always considering the safety, the welfare, and the confidentiality of your library patrons. Policies should address your service regulations and the consequences for misunderstanding a regulation. Consequences and regulations should be easily understood by staff and users alike. Your policies must be consistent with local, state, and federal law, and they must ensure equitable treatment for everyone. providing a framework for the consistent delivery of services free from discrimination. Again, find the publications that I referenced on the State Library's website, statelibraryofiowa.gov. Consultants at each district office are happy to help as questions come up. Access contact information for your district staff at the links showing on this slide. We're happy to provide board orientation and education programs to your library, to your door, on site, and online. Just ask us. This concludes this session of our trustee training video series, this session on policy development. Thanks for watching.